Welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie writers on their journey to publication. I'm Jamie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
I'm Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance.
I'm Christina Catane, and I write in multiple genres, including Christian dystopian fiction.
I'm Rhonda Hagerman, and I write fiction and nonfiction.
All right, so here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It's another Friday at 10. Hi, Jason. Jason's chatting with us. Gigi's chatting with us today. Good to see you guys. We really like to check in with you to see what's up with you. So let us know how your week has been. And we're going to go around the table here, the virtual table, check in with our hosts and find out what's up with them. What's up with you, Rhonda?
Just more Florida weather. It's been absolutely wonderful. It was a little cooler last week, and this week it's definitely very warm. But I have been getting my writing schedule in place, and I've had a pretty productive week. It's been great.
I just need to ask you, because I did happen to see a seashell picture that you put on your Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
It was so beautiful, Rhonda. I just want to know, do you plan to put any of that on like your author pages? Because that's you. That's like a personal thing about you that you could, because they're so pretty. The seashell pictures that you took. Oh my, I think that your readers might like to see those. I'm just saying.
Okay.
All right.
We'll do a test.
Well, what's
Gigi
up with
wants to know, Rhonda, define Florida cooler weather. I don't think it's the same as Michigan cooler weather or wherever Gigi's from.
Okay. So it was like in the high 60s.
Ooh, bird.
And I know.
That's summer weather in Alaska.
I freshly remember what Michigan weather is. And so I realized how silly that sounds. But it's true. It was a little cool.
You have secret sympathy from this corner of the podcast.
Yes, I know. But I've been on the beach. I've had my toes in the sand every single day.
Yeah.
I'm not wasting a day of it.
So glad. All right. Shell says, good morning. Good morning to you, Shell. Glad you made it over here today. And I want to know what's up with you. Oh, hey, Teresa. Good to see you.
And Piper's here too.
Piper's here too. Yeah. What's up with you, Tina?
Oh, wow. It's been a really crazy week, and I wasn't sure exactly everything I wanted to say and without taking up the whole podcast. Like my husband and I went and ate in a bubble.
That's so fun. I want to do that. I know a lot of people do, but I want to
make sure you dress, like wear extra socks.
Oh, it's still cold. Huh?
Yeah, it was cold.
So can you describe exactly what you're talking about? Because some people may have no clue what you're even talking about.
So there's these clear plastic bubble things, and then they have you outside because in Michigan you're not allowed to eat inside in restaurants. Okay. So it was a fancy restaurant, and it was a clear plastic bubble, and they had a little space heater in there. But
so
it
like a blow
really
up
igloo.
Up.
What's that?
Like a blow up igloo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It didn't occur to me till just now how appropriate that is, Tina.
I even had my Arctic parka, and I was still cold. But then I have to talk about my book because last Wednesday, my Audible book became available for sale. And then by Friday, it had hit number 3 in Christian fantasy Audible books.
Nice.
And then by Saturday, it was number 1 on religious science fiction and fantasy new releases. And
That's awesome.
And then I sent out my newsletter on Saturday. And then there was just like this perfect storm of stuff going on. It drove all these sales to my ebook. Because you're looking at the Audible book and it's like $13.95 or 1 credit, but then you see the ebook is 99 cents. So all these people, I sold so many ebooks, it was crazy. And I even shared, like Saturday is self-promotion day in this Facebook group I'm in called Avid Christian Readers. And so I did that. I put a little thing about my Audible book being number 3. And at least 40 people commented on that thread that they were buying it. So I just bought your book. And then I found this other thread where someone was like, oh, I heard about this book, but I can't remember the title. And it's something about the Bible being torn into. And then there was another 25, 30 posts on that about, oh yeah, I bought that or I want to buy that. So it was crazy.
And that's
So
what we're
by
all working
Monday, I
for.
was number one on Kindle
And
for
Kindle.
Christian fantasy.
Say it again.
On Monday, I was number one on the Kindle list for Christian fantasy.
So you are what? What does that make you?
No, a bestseller. Just
Oh!
for Kindle. And I was number two on Christian fantasy for books in general.
Yeah.
And I made it to number two for Christian futuristic on Kindle.
Tina, you need to give us time to give surprise reactions. What did you say? What did you just say this last one? Number what?
Christian futuristic, that's a category on
Mhm.
Amazon. I made it to number two on that list. Number two on books for Christian fantasy. And number one on Kindle for Christian fantasy.
Well, a
That's
hearty
awesome.
congratulations from the whole podcast, right, ladies?
Mhm.
Yes, and I know
Yeah.
we want to delve into this more. I mean, I know everyone wants to talk. You called it a perfect storm, but the thing I find interesting is you did a fussy librarian
On Monday.
on Monday, and so there are like other things. But again, we'll get to that because I do want us to like delve into this deeper because it's so exciting and I'm so happy for you. But you need time to process it and figure things out, right? Like we don't ever want to just come in here, But anyways, I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, really excited. We're going to want to know what you think were the components of that storm. And the chat is just blowing up.
I can't even be mad that I got knocked out of number one by Ted Decker and Frank Peretti and C.S. Lewis.
Some pretty
I
stiff
mean-
competition.
I bow
Yeah,
to greatness.
Piper says, hooray, Tina. Shell says, so exciting. Congratulations, Piper's wooting. Teresa says, congrats. So exciting.
Thanks, guys.
Lots of love coming from the people in chat. So we're really proud of you, Tina. Good job. Good, hard work is paying off. Don't give up on your dreams, right?
Right.
Okay, I will just go next so that it's not like talkity talk time. I just would like to let everybody know that because we have done business plans, I am taking my career very seriously. And one of the first actions I am taking as a business owner is to recognize the hard work of the people who make my company what it is. So I would like to take this moment to announce Employee of the Year for 2020 is Stash Hirschberger.
Has he seen this?
He
Hold that up again. I gotta make my screen big.
he created for me a sound booth that I am in right now. There he is in his happy place on vacation, which hopefully he'll earn enough money selling books this year to be able to go on a vacation. And that's the plan. So I'm going to hang this up behind me so my camera will go dark. But Jen, what's up with you?
Before I gotta share one more thing about Tina's book. Jason says I know of 4 book clubs doing Tina's book.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I don't know if that's awesome or totally terrifying.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Well, Tina, maybe you should do like a workbook or like a study guide or something to go with it. If there's
Like
people,
questions that they can.
Yeah.
I should have my daughter do it because she was really moved by the spiritual message in the book, and I think she's got a master's degree in that kind of stuff. So
right?
maybe I'll have her do it.
Well, we
What's
lost.
going on?
We lost
No.
Jamie's pretty face, and while she's
Yeah.
figuring that out, I will go. Mine is much less exciting than anybody else's this week, but I found a way to deal with my half-dead plant. Jamie's like, "What's up with the hat?" So this is those of you that have not been paying attention during the holidays when we were on break. I forgot about this plant, and it died really fast. But there's still a little bit of life into it. I've been trying to resurrect it, but as you can see, it's not really working out. But this hat I got it at a Halloween shop when I was first working on Phoebe's book because Will, the love interest, is a Michigan State trooper, and this it still is part of their uniform, though I think it's different color, but this was their part of their uniform, and so so now I feel like Will is helping me deal with my plant issues as I edit Phoebe. So that's all I got for this week. I'm still editing Phoebe. I am not as far in the editing because I walked away from it for Nano, and I haven't gotten back till this week, and I'm not as far with the editing as I thought, but I'm going to get there and I'm just going to start trugging along. Oh, I know what I want to talk about real quick. So I've been beating myself up because I feel like I'm not getting enough words in. Like I'm not getting 2,000 word days and I'm not doing it 7 days a week because I have other things going on in my life. And I'm coming out about 700 words a day, 7 to 1,000. And I'm only doing that for sure 3 days a week. And I get extra writing in other times. And I was just kind of mad at myself. So then I sat down and I did the math. If I do 700 words a day, 3 days a week, that's 2,100 words a week. I can put out 2 to 3 novels at that rate, because I'm also editing. Like, just because I'm only getting those words in, I'm still editing. I'm still working on my website. I'm still doing newsletters. I'm
Right.
still doing things for the podcast. Like, I work on my career a lot more than those hours. And so I did that math. I'm like, I'm happy if I can come out with 2 to 3 books a year. That is totally fine. And if I can just commit to that, which is a doable like thing that I can achieve, and take the pressure off myself, then I think that I'm gonna, which we're gonna talk about goals next week. So I don't want to get too deep into it, but it's been a great revelation for me, and I feel so much better about what I've been able to accomplish lately. So.
Well, that's really great because, it's important that you feel like you're being successful and you're not just spinning your wheels. So
Yeah.
it's so awesome. Okay. So we got through everyone.
Can I just interject and say, if you hadn't told me that was a Michigan State Troopers hat, I would have continued to think it was a cowboy hat, and that plant could have been sagebrush.
Oh, yeah, because it is pretty dead. Am I ready to roll out of here?
Trying to be helpful here.
That's funny. I should go get it. I know it's here somewhere. I have my grandfather, who was a pastor here in Michigan, was from Missouri, and he was definitely a cowboy. He owned horses like all of his life. And I have one of his Stetsons that I just every so often
There you
pull
go.
out, because it just makes me think of him. And if you want to know anything about my grandpa, you need to read Avoiding Esther, because Reverend Albright is 100% my grandpa. Anyone who reads it's like, oh my gosh, without me telling them, they're like, oh my gosh, that's your grandpa. I'm like, I know. But larger than life personality. So,
Yeah, if you haven't read that, you totally should. Jen, where can they get it?
you can get everywhere that books are sold.
And the name is?
Avoiding Esther. If you want to go to jennifercarltong.com, you can see all my books there and get updates. And I just refreshed my website. It looks a little different.
Awesome. All right. So, hi,
wait,
Maria.
Here's some what's up. So let's check in. My what's up: taking the Write Better Faster course online with Becca Syme to try to develop a better writing system for myself.
All right,
That's
Piper.
awesome.
Way to go. Yeah.
Always-
I would like
always
to
good
know
to
if
improve.
she is getting benefits from that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jason's what's up? Haven't been able to do any writing this week. Been working a lot and just have been tired and not working.
Yeah. Trying to balance the work and the writing. Yeah.
Maria, she says I'm running a bit late, but she's here. We're glad you're here, Maria. She says, my what's up: proofreading, writing, working on my newsletter, which I'm sending out tomorrow. You sound like me, like doing a little bit of all of it, right? Piper says, but I also am dealing with what I'm calling chronic pain, heading to doctor to discuss it.
Ooh.
Well, all right. Well, everyone, make sure and include Piper in your prayers today, because I understand. We on the podcast, we understand chronic pain. Shell says, what's up? Getting 200 words a day and researching Cuba and romance.
Ooh.
My favorite
Cuba?
story.
Interesting.
Ooh,
Havana,
is it going to be a hot Latin guy?
I left my heart back in Havana. Oh, no. Okay. Anyway, so that's not really an appropriate segue for the topic, but who cares? Okay.
Anytime we get to hear you sing, Jamie, it's appropriate.
Here's the deal. My husband is employee of the month, but technically he's kind of more of an intern. I don't know, because technically he is not employed by me. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because we're going to talk about financials and your business plan. For instance, my husband, if I ever were to pay him, would be considered a contracted employee. He would get an I-9 at the end of the year. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you haven't done your business plan, because do you have someone doing work for you? How are you paying them? That should be in your business plan. And so we are going to talk about financials, among other things, on today's episode. Check back in earlier episodes about how to get your business plan started. We did the first half in the episode last week, and now we're moving on to the second half of a business plan. So, Jen, why don't you talk for a quick minute about the first point on the outline?
Well, do we want to touch again for somebody who might be just tuning in about reasons we should have a business plan?
Yes.
Because, it took me a while, because at first I thought, I don't need a business plan. Like, I don't have time for that. I got to write. I got to edit. I got to do book covers. But one of the things I have found by working on my business plan is it helps me to focus. If you guys have been tuning in for more than 5 minutes, you've probably figured out that I fill my plate way too much and then get mad when I can't accomplish all of it. Doing a business plan is helping me to see what is really important to me. If it's not in the business plan, I'm not going to be doing it.
Right.
So, and if something pops up that I want to do, then I got to make it fit in the business plan, or I've got to put it off until next year. And so that's been helpful for me to keep my focus. That's one of the reasons that, at least for me.
Yep.
What have you guys found as advantages so far for working on your business plan?
Next week, we're talking about goals. And you
Mhm.
really can't talk about goals unless you know what you're shooting for. So
Mhm.
you need to have your business plan in place first, and then you can do the fun goal setting part.
Yes.
I like it for the same reason that Jen is saying, but not just to hold myself accountable to not getting into new ventures or new projects, but to hold other people around me accountable. So if they say to me, hey, what about this fun project or this good idea? I can say, no, I'm busy and here's why. My life is full of my own career. Thank you very much. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I have it as sort of like, I have decided that this is what I'm doing. Me, myself, and I are a team of 3 against your one opinion that I should be doing what you think I should be doing.
Yep.
And I'm giving myself a backup to myself, like that I can count on. Because I know when I write down on this piece of paper, I am of sound mind. I have a plan. I have a purpose. Yes, this is what I want to do. And on that day, I knew I was resolved. So I can look back at that paper and it can kind of serve like maybe how someone's baptism might serve for them, just kind of as a reminder of the day that they made the commitment. And then you can say to other people, no, I have this commitment to myself and I'm not going to break it.
Yep. I kind of picture it as like a head to toe shield in front of me.
Yes.
You know what it does for me is, and you know, Piper's taken that Write Better Faster course, and I did my Clifton Strengths. And I am like analytical thinking, like all the way. Like all my top 5 strengths are analytical thinking. And I tend to get lost in these rabbit trails because I want to learn new stuff and then I get bored easily. And so like I'm always like, oh, remember when I took a code writing course?
Yeah.
Like for what reason, I don't even know, but it was just really fun to learn something new. And so my business plan is going to keep me grounded in, okay, I can go out and learn and I can go out and look for information and collect all these facts, but I have to keep it focused in on what my business plan is and where I'm going with my business so that I don't get out here on a rabbit trail. Like, why are you learning to do code when you're an author kind of stuff? We're working on trying to get Becca Syme on the podcast in the near future. So
that's really exciting.
I'm a little excited about that.
So keep tuned for that.
Yeah, Becca Syme is who, Jen? Can you just speak about that real quick since you're more educated than I am?
I'll let Tina speak on it because Tina
Awesome.
is the one that's been spearheading that. I know she is, but go ahead, Tina.
Okay, so Clifton Strengths is a test that you take through Gallup, the poll takers. And it's meant to be for like teams working together in businesses to learn their employees' strengths. Where are you naturally strong? And where do you naturally go when you're trying to be productive and all this? So you take this test and it tells you what your strengths are. So Becca Syme is a strengths coach and she coaches people, but she has a podcast called Strengths for Writers. So she specifically focuses on those who have a writing career and how their strengths affect how they do how their strengths affect their processes in
Very
writing.
exciting.
Yeah, it's real neat. She's going to be on the podcast. What do we have going on in the chat here, Jen? Anything that you've seen?
Piper shared that yes, Tina, my learner, is number 2, so she's in the same boat. And yeah, lots of people are going to be praying for Piper, so appreciate that.
Okay.
I'll tell you one thing that learning my strengths did for me is I'm like Tina, my top 4 are in analytical. And it helped me realize that, I mean, I already knew that I enjoyed learning and I just soak in information like a sponge, but I rarely let it back out because when I was younger, I might've been a little bit of a know-it-all maybe. And so as an adult, I don't want that reputation. And so I don't
share what you know.
Yeah. So that is something that I know I need to work on is getting
That's
it
awesome.
out.
So we don't want to give away too much of that episode because that's going to be up in a few weeks here.
Oh, yeah.
But moving on, like we need to talk about the second half of your business plan. Now,
That's right.
Talk about
Mhm.
operational plan, correct?
Yeah, that's the how you get it done, right, Rhonda?
Yep.
Yeah, so these are all the big decisions, right? Like, are you going to traditionally publish? Are you going to independently publish? What kind of things do you think people wouldn't recognize should be included in their operational plan?
In the operational plan, things that they wouldn't.
Yeah, like you wouldn't necessarily think that would belong there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so operational plan is basically the big picture of like, so if you were Walmart, we are going to sell groceries to human beings, right?
Yep.
And so you're going to say trucks will come and unload the goods at the dock, and you're going to say exactly how the good is going to get into your store and then into the hands of the customer, right?
So like
Right.
for an author, wouldn't it be along the line? We would think about, I'm going to traditional publish or I'm going to indie publish. If I'm going to indie publish, am I going wide or am I going to go exclusive to Amazon? If I'm going wide, you think about Barnes and Noble. So this is where we would list off all the places that we're going to. Is that correct,
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yep.
Okay.
And then before that, you also need to know how you're going to get the product created. You need to know who's going to be on your team. Are you going to hire an editor, or do you know someone who is a developmental editor that'll do it for free for you? Or
Or in trade.
in trade, yeah.
Trade is great, you guys. If you're not trading your services for things that cost money at this stage, then you need to find a way to do that.
Yes,
For
your services
example-
are way more valuable than money.
Yeah, for example, Jamie edits for me and I work on graphics for her. It's it's like not a strain for me. I enjoy doing it. So I feel like I'm really getting the better end of the deal for Jamie, but she doesn't like to do what I do. So
Yep. I just want to say, first of all, that if you're overwhelmed by doing a business plan and everything that we're throwing at you, your business plan really only needs to be like 5 sentences.
Thank you, because I was just going to stop you and say this would make me never want to write a single word. If I have to already decide before I've written a book, if I want to go wide on Amazon, if I want to go to, like, I don't even know so if I'm brand new, I don't even know what the competitor to Amazon is yet. Do you know what I mean? And I just want to write a book, and then I'm getting all tangled up maybe with this business plan. So yes, please speak more about how we don't have to do this.
Right. Yeah. Just all you need to do is start and say, okay, I'm going to be an author this year. I'm going to put it up on Amazon. I'm going to use my friends to get my book created. And I will revisit this at the beginning of the next quarter and see if I can add anything to it.
Or what if your business plan is you're not going to publish at all this year? What if your plan is to build some books up or just learn the craft? Or because the whole point is, like, if you're going to spend money on your business, because no small business happens without spending money somehow, right? If you're going to spend money, you need to decide where. Like, so maybe this year I end up spending $500 on courses, but I know that it's because of this reason, this reason, this reason. So you see what I'm saying? So you don't have, the publication does not have to be even in your business plan. It has to be personal to you.
Yes.
And I would say to put in there what you already know and have decided. So I already know and have decided that my books are going to be wide, and then I'm going to go through Ingram Spark, and then I need to buy ISBNs.
Love that.
And this and this and this. And so I'd put that in there. But if you don't know that, don't put it in there.
It might not even be, and like for me, it's something I didn't think about, but pricing strategy. I do have a pricing strategy. I need to write it down because sometimes I forget. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to I want it more sales. I'm going to mark it down. I have a reason for why I price things out. And so things like that in here, like is a good thing. So we talked about how, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just want to interject because Jason said he now feels better because it was getting overwhelming. But again, just because we're talking about the things to include in a business plan, we have to be careful not to forget the why of the business plan, which is to help you. And that's why we had that first episode way back. Are you even trying to make this a career? If you don't care if you make a profit this year, don't even do a business plan and tell us to go take a long walk off a short pier. Tune in next week or whenever when we talk about goal setting, because we're going to be taking these business plans and turning them into actionable goals that anybody could use, even if they give not one fig about ever doing a Facebook ad or any of this other stuff. So don't feel like you must have a business plan to be a writer. You totally don't have to.
Although,
okay. No, it wouldn't hurt because you probably will spend a little bit of money. Now, here's the thing. If you have another hobby in your life, let's say you knit, or let's say you hunt, or let's say you are into classic cars, you know that you have like a hobby budget. And
Good
you
point.
know that you have a time in your life that is set aside to practice that craft or that hobby. And if you were going to make that a cottage industry, think about the things you would have to figure out. Are you going to go to Etsy? Are you going to go to a craft fair? Whatever. This is just like any other art, except ours is in our head. So people can't really make the leap between an artist painting with a brush and us sitting in front of a computer because it looks the same
Right.
as not doing art.
But even if this part of your business plan, if you're not going to publish, that's still important though too. Wouldn't you agree, Rhonda? Because like you started to say, is that it has to like say how you're going to get there. Like I'm going to write 2 books this year. Well, how are you going to do that? Daily writing sprints? Are you going to do office hours? Right? Was that what you would say? So that kind of part goes into this part of the business plan called the operational plan.
Okay, and then we move on from the operational plan and we talk about management, which is funny because then that's when you talk about like, I got my husband here, doing a little bit of recording. He built a sound booth for me. So where does he fit in my management plan, right? Am I his boss? Is he independently contracted and he's his own boss, et cetera, right, Rhonda?
Right.
And then what other things might go in your management plan?
Let's see. Well, it would be setting your work hours. And something I'm going to do is I'm going to have a section this time of acceptable excuses to miss work or miss office hours. Instead
Are you going to
of
write yourself up if you have an unacceptable?
Yes, I have a demerit pad like I used to get in school.
All right. I like it.
Demerit pad. I'm gonna guess you went to Christian school.
How did
Just
you
a wild guess.
We need to get some like reindeer antlers or something that affix to your headphones. And if you don't show up to office hours to your own standard, you have to wear them or something on the podcast, like a dunce cap kind of a thing to where it's like you're called out and busted for not doing what you said. I don't know. Fun.
So the fact that I trade with Jamie is not my employee, but she does, it is part of my of this area. Is this where I would list like the people that do those kind of things for me in trade?
Yes. So in your last section, you decided how you were going to get your cover done, your editing done, blah, 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 marketing, that sort of thing. So in this section, this is where you say who is going to be doing that for you.
The how, then the who.
Yep.
Got it.
Very good. Very good. All right. And then finally, everybody's favorite part, financials.
And this is the part where you say how you're going to pay for all those people and all those products. And services.
Barbara Bauk says, a goal without a plan is just a wish. Agreed.
Agreed. I hope Barb will be around for our goal setting episode next week with a lot more quotes just like that, because we are going to talk about how to take this plan that you did, this business plan, and turn it into actionable steps to getting you across the finish line to publication or wherever your particular business plan is leading your business this year. So financial is pretty straightforward. You want to do a budget and you're hoping that your expenses aren't going to exceed your income unless you've got some extra money kind of laying around, or you're going to do a Patreon, or how you're going to fund it, right?
Right. And I usually do 2 for this section. I've got like an A and a B. I've got my fantasy budget for if everything was ideal and I had unlimited budget to spend, what would I like to do this year? And then I've got my, well, this is really what's probably going to happen budget.
Can we add a part C with the prayer plan and timetable?
Yes, that's a great idea, actually.
But this is, I mean, it seems pretty straightforward, but this, again, I think is going to be the most personal part of this whole plan, because each one of us has we're at a different stage in our publication journey.
Absolutely.
So money's going to look different, right? Like if I am like, let's say like a Teresa who is not published yet, I don't have an income that I can even guess. Or me, who is publishing a couple more books this year, my income is hopefully going to change dramatically.
Yep.
So a lot of this is going to be based specifically on like yourself personally. But it could be like this financial part, like if we go back to like the avatar that I was talking about earlier, I'm only writing books this year. I'm not looking at publishing. I'm working on my craft. This is where I'd put how much money I'm willing to spend on these classes so that when some shiny new class pops up in my Instagram, or I get an email from a person in the industry that I really respect, and I'm like, oh, I should take their course now. Like we can go back to our business plan. We're like, this is what I said.
Yes.
This is what I'm going to keep to, because we don't want to get into that rabbit hole. Right.
And it's really, really, really hard when all your friends are taking the newest, latest, greatest. And you think, well, they're getting so much and maybe I could. And also, if you do have an expenditure, you again have that shield about you to where when you do spend the money, you can have that piece of paper to say, see, this is a budgeted expense that everybody was aware was coming down the pipe. I'm not out of line for spending this money. So it's very wise to have it on paper.
Yep.
Here's a good question. Piper says, so what about flexibility?
That's something you have to work in your business plan. You can asterisk certain things. These are non-movable. These are going to be accomplished, or these are not negotiable. And then you know, this is your business plan. You need to make it work for you.
Yeah, because, you know, if you guys were going to the bank to ask the bank to bankroll your startup, you would not have any room for any flexibility anywhere. Fortunately, we are our own boss, so we can be as loosey-goosey with it as we want. However, think about a personal trainer. The tougher the personal trainer is on you, arguably the better depends on what kind of personal trainer you need. Do you need someone to kick your butt every day and say no flexibility? Or do you need a patient boss who's going to let you breathe? And like, you need to figure out what's going to work for you. We can't advise as to how much flexibility you can have in your plan.
Plus, there is nothing saying that you can't revisit your business plan at any point in the year, because life changes. Things happen. Trust me. I know that fact for sure.
Yep.
I love that Teresa says her day job, she works for an association of churches. She says all her budgets are called faith budget. It's a combination of practical expectations while leaving room for God. That's great. That's a really
I
good
love that.
Yeah, me too. Yep.
Well, but Maria says she thinks she's relating more to the management operation aspects than the financial. Pretty much any income I get is from sales, which is difficult to predict. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So that is, I'm glad that you brought that one up there, because I want to talk about that. So you've got income, you're paying for stuff somehow. So whether you are selling books enough to cover your income expenses, to cover your expenses for the year, or I don't know, you robbed a bank. I don't know. Maybe you get money from that. Maybe you got an inheritance.
Maybe you get birthday money. Maybe you get Christmas money.
Yep. Maybe it's just from your paycheck or your family paycheck every week. The money is coming from somewhere right now.
Yes, it is. It totally is.
You need to be honest with yourself and say, I'm not saying that you're not being honest with yourself. Rhonda, you need to be honest with yourself and say, where is this money coming from?
Right. Because if I cut out 3 Starbucks a month, does that cover the cost of maybe doing a podcast that I want to do or something like that? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because obviously you're robbing somebody to pay for your habit right now of writing, right? Is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes. Interesting.
Yeah. And it's not to punish you. It's not to make you feel bad, or Rhonda, it's not to make you feel bad. It's just you need to know exactly where it's coming from.
It's empowering because you feel very powerful when you have a tool like this. Think about have any of you ever built anything with like a power tool? It just gives you a really good feeling to be using a tool that can really do something. And that's what a business plan can make you feel like.
And to stick with your analogy, if you have the instructions to go along with the power tool, then you can decide whether you need the hex nut or the screw next.
There you go. Yeah.
And you can do it right instead of going by, I really like the way this hex nut looks, even though maybe I should use a screw.
Yeah.
And if you're struggling with this, or you're kind of sitting there going, I don't know, give it a try. Because that was me. I was the one that was like, all right, I'll do it if we have to do a podcast episode on it.
No, me too.
The more I started into it, the more I got excited about my career, because I'm creating this. This is for me, right? And so I am super excited about what the year has to hold, but you won't know that for sure until you start. So we are suggesting you go to SBA.gov. I'm going to put the link in the show notes, which I had not done already, and I should have. I'll go back and do that later. But you go there. Also, another suggestion that we have suggested last week, and I'm going to suggest again this week, Joanna Penn has a new book out called Your Author Business Plan. I download the ebook and then I order this workbook. You don't need to get the workbook because you can download all these pages on her offer pay thing, but it's really great. It's full of questions. She asks questions and it walks you through all of it, and then you can go back and type your business plan up from the things you write in answer to her questions. So this will help you no matter what stage of your
And I have to
if you
say,
want
I
it for
mean,
free, SBA is good too. It was a good
I
one
said
too.
it last week, but just that question on branding,
Mm.
I have gotten so many ideas. Like now that I know what my brand is, and that I don't have to be stuck in Alaska, or you know what I'm saying, I just have all these ideas, and it's really exciting.
Well, yeah, Maria says that yes, the income comes from somewhere. I'm not robbing a bank, she says. Wink.
Wink.
I know the logic of investing in your own business, but it's difficult to do that when you are guilty at what you spend already, for sure. Yes, I
so
know.
this will help you. I really do. I think that when you start
Do
to put
you
it down on
see?
paper, what?
Do you see this microphone? Like, this was not a free microphone. You know what I mean? I'm spending willy-nilly. Anyway, what, Jen?
Right. So like writing it down will help you. And I do think what Jamie said, for me personally, I'm not putting this on anyone else. Like, how much money am I spending on coffee, which I'm trying to pull back from? And like looking at the things I spend on, where's my priority? So if I start to do this business plan and this becomes important to me, I'm like, all right, I know that money doesn't grow on trees. So I got to look at what I'm spending on. And maybe I find that, okay, what I'm spending on already is more important. So I downsize what I thought I was going to spend, or
There's
vice
your
versa.
flexibility.
There's your flexibility. It is your business plan. So trust me, if you are even like, I don't know, just give it a try. I think that you'll find that it's going to make you more excited about it than frustrated with it.
So anything else about this before we move on to our next segment?
Yeah, there's a
No?
few I missed here. Let's see. Teresa says, we've agreed to use some money from the last COVID relief to stipend to get my business launched this year.
Oh,
That's
nice.
great. That's someone who has a spouse that's on board, and we appreciate that. Yep.
All right. So I just want to say also, as a person who did this too, I wrote like 2 sentences and then stopped because so I'm saying it can be whatever you need it to be. Okay. Like my business, I'm the kind of person where strategy is number 1 in my head. So like I already in my head have it all like just in a document in my head. I don't even know how to explain to anybody. So to me, it's very boring to write it all down. Like I don't want to, so whatever. But I am totally an advocate for this. I'm just saying, do it the way you have to do for it to not feel like it's a problem, but that you feel like you're equipped. Okay. Don't just let it help you. We just are trying to help. We're not trying to give you homework or pile on you. And now we can move on. Feel good, everybody?
Feels great.
Yep. Awesome. Now, the fun part where we get to read stories that we just made up out of thin air. We got 5 words this week to sprint with. What that means is we set a timer for 15 minutes and just wrote whatever came to our mind based on a prompt that was given, which I always pick on Jen to go first when I'm the host. What are the 5 words today, Jen? And then can you read what you wrote in only 15 minutes?
I have to read it in 15 minutes. I'm sure I can do that. All right. 5 words this week were imported, flowery, miniature. Let me start over. Imported,
Miniature.
flowery, miniature, which I did not use, disgusting, dynamic. Okay. So before this, full disclosure, before this started, I was like, I don't want to write these words.
All of us said that, didn't we? Is there anyone on this podcast that wanted to write this prompt?
I didn't mind them.
Yeah. I didn't mind it once I got going. So I'm actually pretty happy with this. All right, here we go.
All right.
And no, this is not a real story. I just threw my name in there so I didn't have to think about anything else, like try to come up with a name. You're like a fine imported wine. As a non-drinker, Jen wasn't certain if that was a compliment, but amongst the unnecessarily flowery words, she did hear the word fine, so she thought she should probably take it as a compliment. Thanks? No, thank you, he said his eyebrows raising in rhythm to the slight sway of his head. And Jen couldn't help but think how much he reminded her of a Saturday Night Live skit she once saw when she was a kid and had stayed up way too late and crawled down the hall to see what her mother had been watching. That was it. She was in a 1980s sketch comedy. She wasn't really here on a blind date set up by a friend who apparently held some sort of deep-seated hatred toward her for some past sin Jen couldn't remember having committed. Otherwise, why would she have set her up with its disgusting display of what only a soap opera could call romance? Where was their appetizer? If she had to suffer through this guy's nauseating repertoire of pickup lines, she should at least be able to do it on a full stomach. I don't see our waitress anywhere, Jen began. Mr. Romantic picked up his glass and shook it, the ice cubes clanking around in the emptiness. Yeah, and I'm due for another drink. I'll check the bar. 2 drinks before the appetizer arrived didn't bode well for the evening, she thought, but so relieved for a few minutes out of the man's presence right now was better than worrying about dealing with a drunk date later in the evening. She'd deal with that problem when it happened. Fine wine, a deep voice said to her right. I'll have to remember that one. Jen turned toward the voice, horrified that the tables were close enough for any other human to be able to listen to Jen's humiliation. But the humiliation only worsened when she realized who had spoken it. Blake Gardner. That's it. And I
Who is this Blake Gardner? What?
And I honestly, like, I had extra time. I got up and got my coffee. I used the restroom. Like, I just said, this is where I'm ending it today because
You just wanted to be mean.
I guess so. So
This is the effect of being a longtime sprinter. You start to figure out, oh, I got a few minutes here. I can finagle or not.
yeah,
And you
or
just
just leave it as
decide to just be cruel to your audience. Anyway, positive only because we don't get to edit these, but we are mad at you. But anyway, secretly because only positive, but really fun, Jen. That was a really, really fun sprint. Loved it. Maria says she's in awe. Yes. How can you do that in 15 minutes?
I don't know if she's talking about me though or not.
Oh,
So
wow.
because our chat all of a sudden just populated a bunch of them
Yes.
that had
I
not
can
been there,
recap
so.
just real quickly. Teresa's making some serious sacrifices for her writing career. She's giving up candy.
Oh, boy.
I know. And Valentine's Day is just around the corner, ladies. Let us all pray for Teresa's commitment to her career. Cheesy romance, new genre, Gigi says. And Piper says that your story was really fun. Yeah, it was. Jen, I like it when you get kind of snarky when you write. It always is a fun time.
I want
And
to
I
say
should
something
probably
positive.
address
I want to say
Piper's
something positive
question.
about that, but it was too very real.
Yes. What's the question, Tina? What?
Oh,
Piper wants to know what happened with the prompt from last week.
Oh.
Jen.
because I just couldn't figure out how to, like, I screwed that all up. So that prompt
Yeah,
may
like-
show up later. I wrote the wrong prompt, but I also shared that wrong prompt for
Right.
everybody. So everyone in the world was writing that one. And the poor ladies wrote the correct one. So the correct one, if we shared that one, only I'd be writing it. I had to come up with a new one for them. So
So
we
that we
just
would look like
decided,
Forget them all.
forget all that.
New one.
starting over.
Reset.
Reset. So it's
We're
all
still kind of homemade.
We
Oh,
unplugged the podcast and waited 30 seconds and plugged it back in. That's what
Pretty much. Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so who's gonna go next? Tina, what did you write for these awesome words?
Okay, I also forgot about miniature, so I matched Jen in that way. This is disgusting. Tracy made a face that perfectly illustrated her statement as she pushed the plate away from her. These are the finest escargot imported from the French Riviera, said the waiter with his nose literally in the air. Janice knew there was a fancy, more flowery term that the waiter went by, but she couldn't think what it was, only that it made her think of motherly women in poodle skirts. Are you sure they didn't die and rot on the trip over here? Said Tracy. The waiter guy spun around on the spot he was standing on, the tails of his coat flying out behind him, and Janice was sure she heard his heels click together just before he marched away, his nose still literally in the air. What did he say was the next course? Tracy whispered, her hand over her mouth to muffle the sound. Fishy swap or something like that? I mean, I'll swap those nasty snails for just about anything else. Janice shrugged her shoulders and took a long drink of her water, draining the fancy glass that was far too small in the first place. Maybe she should ask her 2 or 3 glasses for backup. Or maybe they could just leave that fancy glass pitcher with the white napkin under it at the table. A different waiter with not such a high nose came with a tray, setting a bowl down in front of each girl with a bow. What kind of soup do you think this is? Asked Tracy. It's green. Janice moved it around with her spoon, trying to gauge from the smell what it might be. Kind of smells like salad. Ooh, cried Tracy. Waiter, my fishy swap is cold. Yes, ma'am, said the waiter with an amused smile. It is meant to be eaten cold. Well, I don't know about all these people who said this place was the best place in town and having dynamic food, whatever that means. No wonder the French are always having revolutions. They must be starving to death. 3, 2, 1.
That was hilarious.
Oh my gosh. French Revolution. Best line of the day so far. Oh my gosh. That was great.
It was the food after all.
Let them eat cake.
Great way to slide dynamic in there too. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Do we have any people from France in our chat? I would love to talk to some French people because I don't know many French. We were talking about this week. I know people of different heritage, or whatever, but I just don't know many French. I am French Canadian. My family is French and settled in Canada. So a fishy swap. Yeah, Piper likes that. I think we all liked fishy swap. And we all can relate to this girl, right? So, I mean, here you are. You go to a fancy place that everybody likes. You can't even get a decent sized glass of water. And you're like, okay, so I know that I'm just kind of homespun. And you try to play nice, but then you're so thirsty. Tina said, or Shell says, Tina's so good. Yeah, these sprints are always so fun. Okay, well, I'm hosting today. I'm going to read my sprint next just so it's not my voice too much in a row. Also, I think I used one word and then forgot that there were words. I hadn't had imported salami since I'd gone inside, and I had to slow myself after 3 slices. Absorbed in a cloud of garlicky heaven, I didn't notice her quiet movements in the corner of the room until she set a bowl of something steaming in front of me. Mush, she said, lifting a corner of her chin toward the bowl. Plentiful here, if somewhat bland. She made the chin-tip gesture again, this time toward the platter of cold cuts. That there's not something we have all the time. Her cheeks went crimson. I knew why. She'd likely traded something for the cold cuts that I couldn't rightly purchase in a market stall. I wanted to tell her it was all right, that the things I'd seen inside and the things I'd seen in Libra Salvo had ruined me for any ideas of what common or decent folk were supposed to be like. Out there, folks did what they had to do to survive. Didn't seem to matter to me none that this pretty little pebble found herself washed up in a town that would judge the kind of choices she made. She was feeding me, and I intended to pass an evening or two there, and that was all I needed to know, save for maybe what her end of the bargain might be. She turned from me to busy herself with a mound of the white sticky stuff she'd heaped on the counter. I sipped my mush and watched her work, pulling the dough first this way and that, folding it over upon itself, and then turning it and pushing it away from her, over and again in a rhythm that overtook me. Before I realized it, I was lifting my spoon and processing the mush with my molars in time to the sounds of the slap of the dough against the smooth wood countertop and the creak of the floorboards beneath her feet as she rocked with the effort. A sound from the corner of the room stopped my spoon in midair. Her anxious glance confirmed what I suspected. There was an infant there, in the bureau drawer perhaps, or maybe tucked into the basket next to it, one I hadn't seen before. Our eyes met. She uttered the single word, "Please." It was too late. "I'm sorry, ma'am, I have my orders." "No!" she screamed. I stood and crossed the room to reveal her sin, and then it was like every other time. She was on me with the ferocity of a dust devil, clawing at my jumper and biting at whatever bare skin she could get to, my neck, my shoulder, even my calf once I managed to get her down. But I was relentless and unstoppable, and she well knew. I never understood why they bothered to resist.
Oh
Jamie,
my word.
why? Oh, my word.
Okay, so I had comments, but now I'm like in shock. So
Yeah. The
is this
comment
in a
from the-
world that
Go ahead.
Is this in a world that you've already written, or is this like just out of the blue, like maybe a new story coming to you?
This is probably history for the book I'm writing right now, because this is like while they're still trying to figure it out, outside of the city, because there's a land that's free from what the city is doing, but that was all kind of a treaty that they worked out. So they're left to themselves. But for a while, there was unrest about, how they were going to be free and all of that. So this is probably lore from my novel that is there. The salami doesn't really fit, but I had a prompt, so I had to go for it.
Right. Tina, you're muted, sweetheart.
So this is like a dystopian society. There was some confusion in the chat about what was going on, but So I'm guessing like babies are illegal or they have to be
Yeah.
turned into the government or something.
Or
Just
like the
heartbreaking.
Chinese can only have one girl or one child or something, and
Yeah.
wow.
My mind is spinning, but really good.
Yeah. My comments
thank
from the
you.
beginning of the story are a lot different from the comments from the end of the story.
Right.
Well, that's because I was sprinting, right? So in the beginning, he was in prison and he just got out and he was enjoying salami for the first time.
Uh-huh.
But then the person who was feeding him came into the picture and changed everything, and everything changed. You see what I mean? So that's why
Yeah.
an edit always helps, because now I can go back and put it in my world properly. Like I edited the word mush into soup one time just so you guys wouldn't get pulled out of the experience.
Mhm.
But so an edit would really help polish this piece. But I'm really happy with it.
Yeah,
As
me
you
too.
should be. It's great.
Thanks.
Okay, lots of chat, and I'll get to that. But the thing I wanted to say was, it was a male voice, right?
Yes.
And I love that. You never told us it was a male voice. You never put any sort of sexual, like she's so pretty kind of things in his head. But the voice was so male in the way that he was observing what she was doing. A woman would never have sat there and observed the way she was kneading bread,
Mhm.
in a non-sexual way. It was just so well crafted that you just have a knack for that you with voice, like you're able to. I knew immediately that it was a male just because of just the way that he was like observing her, and that is a talent for sure.
That is a tremendous compliment. I really appreciate it. Thank
And
you. Jen.
you did it so well that I didn't even realize that, but I had the same experience. I just knew it was a guy from the beginning.
Mhm.
That's so awesome to hear. I so appreciate the kind words, you guys. Keeps me going.
Gigi says, Jamie speechless. That was amazing. Shell says, wow, an incredible twist. Piper says that was so good and yet so very bad. Jason says, wow, Jamie really drew me in. As you read, so good. Agree with
Thanks,
all that.
guys. Yeah, I had fun. Thanks. I'm so happy. Yay.
I really
All right,
got a feeling of like Nazi occupied France.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the book deals with all kinds of, issues that happen because what's happening to Reese is that his world is getting turned upside down on him. He is very much a Switzerland kind of guy, but there's warring factions all around him. And he's trying so hard to become neutral, but he finds himself kind of sucked in because he falls in love with someone who's picked a side. And it gets really kind of sticky for him. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really glad that you guys picked that up. This is not him, by the way, but he is a guy, and I'm writing from his point of view in my book. So you guys are being very encouraging to me that hopefully I nailed it and I don't sound fake trying to write a guy. So thanks, you guys. So helpful.
Not at all.
Awesome. Okay, so we still want to hear, Rhonda, what'd you do with these 5 words, girl? First of all, did you use the words? Like I just waved them on the way by.
I use the words like I'm supposed to every time.
Yay! It's an
I'm
assignment.
ready.
So she's going to do it if it's an assignment.
Oh,
Check it off.
okay. All right. You ready for this?
Yes.
Yes.
100 words coming at you. All right. What's all this? Sandy asked, lifting the corner of the imported foam board with one tentative finger to inspect the rest of the pile as if it was disgusting. Or maybe fodder for my next brilliant failure. I'm making that balance today, I replied quickly, almost sharply. She'd been teasing me about this window for a long time. I wanted to finish it before she arrived to see how long it would take her to notice. I wanted to see if her flowery compliments rolled as quickly off her tongue as her criticisms did. But I foiled myself this morning by goofing off instead. You know what would be funny? She didn't wait for my response as usual. If this turns out really bad, you could put pics of it up on one of those Pinterest fail boards. I wish that huge grin of hers would crack her face wide open with a dynamic mess of miniature muscles. I did not reply. I just walked to the window with my yardstick, which I then realized was too short. I put my finger on the 36-inch mark, then measured the rest of the window with the end of the yardstick. Let's see, 36 minus 28, I mumbled. Sandy was still at the table rummaging through my pile. The look on her face told me she wasn't here to help, but rather to make sure she was witness to this latest failure of mine. I wasn't about to let that dream come true. The end.
Listen, Rhonda, foiled myself. seriously love that word choice. Like,
Thank you.
these are the little things that I'm trying to pick out about what you write, because where you specialize is the stuff that on the daily makes you an insane person, but you could never explain to somebody why you're grumpy. But it's because you've been dealing with, and you seem to zoom right in on the issue with the other person. So it's like this conflict between two people, and you describe so well why there's tension, but you show and you don't tell. And I just love it. So good job.
Well, thank you.
I loved that. I'll be honest, I was listening for the words because I was curious, and then when you finish, I realized I got so into it, I didn't even listen to the words.
Mhm.
So
Good.
Lovecraft, I was into the story, and like I wanted to punch that friend because we all have
Yes.
one of those.
Yes.
And wishing that her smile would blow up into a million miniature muscles. Like,
Yes.
amazing. Like, you could picture she's fantasizing in her head like a cartoon show.
A dynamic mess of minutes.
Oh,
Yes, very well done. Piper says, "LOL," wishing her smile would split her face open. Yes, very.
I just kept wanting to stop you and say, there's like standard measurements for windows, and they're usually like 54, 62, or 72 or something like that.
Yeah, but that's what makes this perfect, because this person is not a DIYer. This person
Right.
is like,
But I wanted to help her. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I think Rhonda just wanted to say yardstick because of the precast, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Gigi says, Rhonda,
Oh, no.
your characters are so real, and they really
Aw.
are, Rhonda. You do character like nothing else.
Well,
So
thank you. I
awesome.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. So, what, Jen?
Precast is not a real thing for those of you that are tuning in, but if we could figure out a way to make the precast a real thing and charge you for it, it'd be well worth
Yeah, we
every
need to go
penny.
behind
was
the
great.
paywall because some of the content is a little bit crazy.
You think we're crazy on here?
Right, because we don't censor ourselves because we don't have an audience. So it's just the four of us being super real, and when it gets super real, it gets super real weird sometimes. So sorry for referring to it, but Rhonda did a blatant callback, so I had to call her.
The visuals were especially weird this morning.
Yes. She says very relatable characters, Rhonda. Yes,
Oh,
we
thank
all
you.
have that critical person. Some people have just one, bless them. Oh, yes. Okay, so we have a little bit of time left here to go around the table and find out what's going on this coming week with everybody. Hey, Rhonda, since I made you go last for the feeding of the backs, I'll let you go first. What's next for you? What's coming up this week?
What's coming up this week is more of my refresh schedule, a revised schedule. I'm going to refine my business plan a little bit more, and I made a lot of progress on my novella that hopefully will be coming out very, very, very soon. So I would like to see like major amounts of progress on that this week.
I
coming
know.
up.
I'm so excited because you just read that little sprint and it made me be like, I cannot wait till there is a whole novel of it. Am I right, Jen?
Yes, 100%.
Someone in the chat is saying, was it your friend or your mother?
Should we let them in on the secret? And Barbara is Rhonda's mother?
Yes. Tina, what's
Yes,
next
to
for you
both of
this
them.
week?
Well, I posted in the Transatlantic Writing Buddies group my number one writing advice for writing book 2. Make sure before you make a character an integral part of book 2, that you didn't kill them in book 1. I don't even know how I could have forgotten that I killed this person.
Because he's a pretty big character, and killing him is a
Yeah.
pretty big deal.
My daughter's like, well, can't you just resurrect him? I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think if that, like, I know it's fantasy, but it's more of a realistic kind of fantasy. So I have all these cards. I'm doing the Story Genius method, and you have scene cards that you develop, and you get so many developed before you start writing. And he was an integral part. I shouldn't even say whether it's male or female, but this character was an integral part of the first 5 chapters. So back to the drawing board.
Yeah, no
I have to
spoilers.
redo those particular scene cards.
And if people don't know who even one of your characters are, where can they get your book, Bambina?
They can go to my website, ChristinaCatane.com. There is you scroll down to the second part of the homepage, and there's a little buy now button. Or you can go to Amazon Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Apple Books, and any other online book retailer is likely to have it, except for the Google Play Store, which I am working on.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, and what's next for you, Jen?
Well, I did not get my business plan complete. I've written it, but I've not had it typed. So my number one thing is to get my business plan typed, because I got distracted with my website this week and I got it pretty much all done. So I'm also getting back to doing my newsletter on a regular basis. I kind of took a break during the holidays. And like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm going to do 700 words, 3 days a week minimum, and continue to do everything else I've been doing. And when that's my writing time, there'll be editing time and business time. So the business plan is integral. So that will be happening ASAP to get it typed up so that I have it for myself. So
we've got a lot of chat going on, but I feel like it'll be a lot of me talking. So let's just read a couple first.
You want me to read them?
Yeah, you do it, Jen. That's great.
So Piper says, what's next? Need to write 4 more scenes and get my book back to the editor for last review. And I really want to order my cover. That's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Jason says, what's next? Trying to get some writing done. Also try out a business plan.
Yeah,
good
give
for
it a
you,
try.
Jason.
Yeah.
Teresa says, what's next? Going to stop today to make a plan. Good. Then next week I will stick to it. Really struggling with finding balance to work on my book and business.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's really, really difficult if you're kind of a workaholic personality. You've got to set some boundaries and adhere to them, not just with the finances, but also with your time, which is a resource.
And Shell says 200 words a day, more research, also finish reading an ARC for review. If you're new to our podcast, our What's Up section, we always want to share what you have going on. So please, if you're listening to this later on through our podcast, or you're watching this YouTube video later, please try to find a way to at least occasionally come visit us during the live chat. There's a lot of great people in here, a lot of encouragement, as I hopefully you've been able to tell today.
Can I just comment on Jason's comment?
Yeah.
On trying to stay encouraged.
Oh,
it's hard. I mean, it's hard to be encouraged every day, but just remember, as a writer, you can use everything that's going on in your life. The good stuff and the bad stuff. And also, if it's always up, how will you ever know when things are going down or when they're better than they were?
Yes, very good.
So, learn to appreciate those times.
Absolutely. Very good, Rhonda.
Shell says, I found Jen's romance outline that I downloaded a while back, and I'm finding it very helpful. I'm happy to hear that. For those of you that don't know, we have some resources that if you sign up for our newsletter, you get for free. And one of them is my romance plot sheet outline. It's a very simple, you can go read long books about how to plot a romance, or you can just download my simple basic plan to help you get going. So go to christianindiewriters.net. for your copy.
That might be a little bit of a quicker start than the business plan if you just want to get writing. What's next for me? We're doing newsletter chat tomorrow at 9 a.m., aren't we, Jen?
Tuesday?
No, Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday. I keep thinking it's Monday. I don't know why.
Oh, no.
Did we ever podcast on Monday? Please tell me we used to. No, we never did.
We used to record on Mondays.
That's what it is. So Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern, Jen and I go on Facebook Live and we talk about the newsletter. So I'm going to be doing that. And speaking of which, if you are not a subscriber to my newsletter, you'll want to go over to www.writingshorts.net, because every month I send out one free short story and a Drabble in a bonus extra edition. So free short stories to read sent right to your inbox. Also, I give you a free copy of my ebook, And the Mom Ran Away with the Moon. For a limited time only, I'm changing the freebie to my other short story, One Quiet Afternoon. So if you want to get And the Mom Ran Away with the Moon for free, you've got to sign up now, www.writingshorts.net. And you will also get One Quiet Afternoon when it is put out for free for people who are my newsletter subscribers. So become a wonderful reader today. What else from you ladies?
That's it. I can't wait to get busy on my business plan today.
Awesome. Okay, so I guess that concludes this episode of the Christian Indie Writers Podcast. Until next time, may your pen be prolific, may your deadlines be met, and may all of your words honor Christ. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.